Although I'd ideally like to stay in St Helena a bit longer, I'm really looking forward to setting off sailing again and heading towards Brazil.
We are about to cast off the lines and sail 1,700 miles from the tiny island of St Helena in the middle of the South Atlantic, non-stop across the ocean to Fernando de Noronha in Brazil. We are going to be out of sight of land for nearly 2 weeks.
We are Mahi-mahi. We have spent the last 6 years sailing our 37-foot sailboat Florence around the world. In that time we have crossed 3 oceans. Over 36,000 miles have passed under our keel, and we are now closing in on our goal, to complete our circumnavigation.
Before us lies the Atlantic Ocean, which we will now cross twice in order to reach the shores of England once more. We've been spending the last couple of days getting Florence prepared for our next passage across the South Atlantic from here in St Helena, 1,700 miles to some islands off the coast of the Brazil called Fernando de Noronha. We're probably looking at about 12 days at sea.
And then after that we've got another 1,300 miles, another 10 or 11 days after that to get to French Guiana and South America. So a lot of sailing coming up over the next month, but that's what we set out to do, sailing around the world, and I'm really excited to be actually making some serious progress across the ocean again. Just downloaded the latest weather. The weather looks pretty good to go. It's a little bit more wind than we normally like, so we're probably going to have 20 to 22 knots, gusting up to maybe 29, 30 knots, but that's not too bad because we're going to be going pretty much dead downwind all the way. So once it gets up to those sorts of levels, we should be able to drop the mainsail and easily sail with just the 2 headsails. But to start with, we're going to have perfect conditions for a couple of days, 14 to 15 knots, which should be absolutely lovely.
It's been a pretty easy passage prep, getting ready for this next passage. Mainly because there aren't many things available in the shops here to provision, so we're mostly going on what we've had from our provisioning in South Africa and also Namibia. The ferryman helped us with water, so our water tanks are all topped up, and we don't have much maintenance that we needed to do on Florence, so a quick scrub of the hull yesterday and we're ready to go.
Hey, you ready to go?
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, okay. I have a little present for you.
Oh, thank you very much!
I made that, yes.
Oh, that's very sweet of you.
You're coming with us?
Thank
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Enjoy your trip.
Yeah.
Really nice to meet you.
Really nice to meet you.
We made a lot of new friends on St Helena, and it's always hard to say goodbye. But it's time to hoist the sails and head out into the open ocean.
Okay, done with engine?
Yeah. Nice. Hopefully it'll stay off like that for the next 12 days.
Setting off on an ocean passage gives us an incredible sense of freedom. Here, there is nothing ahead of us but open ocean. There is no complicated coastal navigation to negotiate. We just aim our bow directly at Fernando de Noronha and sail on day after day until we sight land on the horizon.
Just approaching 6 o'clock, so we're about to start our night watches. We've had an amazing afternoon sailing this afternoon, St Helena Island is just kind of fading into the clouds behind us. And we've got some just puffy trade wind clouds surrounding us. So they're the only clouds around. There doesn't look to be anything threatening. So we'll be going into the night with full sails up.
We've done 39 miles in 6 hours. So we're not on the equator yet. It's been a lot warmer than it was coming out of Namibia, but I'm still wrapping up warm for my night watch because I know it's going to get a little bit chilly as the sun dips below the horizon. But as we get closer to Fernando de Noronha, Brazil, the predictions show that the temperature is going to just rise up until it gets to 26 degrees. So hopefully we'll be in shorts and t-shirt for night watches there.
It's 1 o'clock in the morning and I'm just coming to the end of my first night watch. So I've just been on deck for 4 hours and I'm about to go down below for the next 4 to hopefully get some sleep. And that's just getting dressed. Now to come up on deck and take over. I've been up here on deck for the last 4 hours. I've only needed to adjust course a couple of times and I've just been keeping watch and I've seen absolutely nothing. The stars have been really nice though. Did you manage to get any sleep?
I think I got about 45 minutes, maybe an hour's sleep. But it's difficult to sleep with the boat's motion and the sails every now and again give a bit of a flap as we roll on a wave. And the first night we never sleep very well. Well, the first couple of nights we never sleep very well. And after that, because we haven't slept, we're so tired that then we sleep well. Or at least that's the theory.
Well, today we're solidly into some really good trade winds, some good strong breezes. We're 48 hours into the sail from St Helena to Fernando and we've done nearly 300 miles already, which is really good going for Florence. The breeze really picked up though this morning in the dark at 5 AM. It always happens in the dark at 3 or 5 AM. But it picked up and we had to drop the mainsail because it got up to 28 knots. But now we're under what is fast becoming my favourite sail setup for downwind sailing in the trades, which is staysail and genoa. Once we've got the mainsail out of the way, we don't have to round up to reef, which is what we have to do with the mainsail. With these, just the head sails, we can easily furl away the genoa or unfurl it without changing course. One of us can do it really easily on deck, and if we want to drop the staysail, we just let go of the halyard and it will land on deck. So it's a really nice, low stress, easy sail plan. And we've got plenty of breeze to make it work. We're doing 6.7, 7.2, 7.4 knots, 7.5 knots. So these waves are just helping us to surf a little bit. We're making really good progress.
Fish. We lost the fish.
Fish on?
Yeah, not a very big one. I'm trying to keep the line tight, but yeah, it's definitely helping me.
Doesn't help that we're doing 6.5 knots. That's probably half the problem.
Yeah, probably should reef the sails and make life a bit easier, but just dragging the poor thing in.
There we are. Lunch and dinner sorted.
Well, that's not entirely true. Catching the fish is only part of the challenge. Preparing it and cooking it are often harder. I'm cooking up that dorado that we caught, but it's so rolly that I'm having to wedge the other things that I've made, the salad and the couscous, in the fruit hammocks so that it doesn't get thrown across the boat. I've been thrown across the boat a couple of times. Sliding everywhere because of... Thank you. Whoa.
The challenges of living life at sea don't end there. We still have to wash up.
I'm gonna go to bed and find that I don't only have to tie myself in, but I also have to put a pillow to wedge me in. This lee cloth makes sure that we don't fall out of bed, but we still roll around even in this bit here, so I find you have to wedge yourself in with a pillow.
Getting enough sleep at sea when sailing without crew is never easy. The motion of the boat never stops. When time comes round to go on deck for your watch once more, it always feels like you have barely had time to fall asleep.
So we've been sailing along with just the two head sails for the last few days, but this afternoon the breeze is dropping off and this isn't giving us enough speed, so we can't unfurl anymore. They're completely unfurled, so we're going to swap the staysail for the mainsail and put that back up. Hopefully that gives a little bit more speed, and hopefully the wind will stay like this so we don't have to change it back again in a few hours' time.
To put up the mainsail, we need to first turn Florence into the wind, which means furling the genoa and hardening up on the staysail.
Okay, that's that. Nice. Thanks very much.
One of the things you've got to be aware of when sailing long passages is chafe on things where they rub against each other. and we knew we had a bit of chafe on this Genoa sheet from when we were sailing down the coast of Africa, and we had a problem with the beak of the spinnaker pole, and it was rough and it was wearing on the Genoa sheet, and we thought, now we've changed the spinnaker pole end for a smoother one, we thought it'd be okay, but it's still worn through the outer sleeve of this rope. So rather than replace the whole thing, 'cause it's a really long rope, goes all the way to the back of the boat, we're actually going to try and put a cover over it and stitch that cover on, and hopefully that'll stop it chafing any further and make the rope last another year or two and save us some money. It's only the outer that's worn through, the inner of the rope is absolutely perfect still, and that's the bit that is the core strength. The outer is just protecting it from UV and from chafe. So we're going to add some more chafe protection with this. What we're using is just a bit of sail canvas with some double-sided tape on the back that hopefully is going to stick it to the rope, and then I'm going to sew it along so it doesn't come off. And the reason we're doing this with this Genoa out is because when we furl the Genoa, this part of the Genoa goes too high for me to reach without standing on the pulpit. So this is the best compromise about where I can reach it.
Oh, mahi-mahi.
Bigger one. It's got to be bigger. Oh yeah, I see it under the water. Oh, he's bigger. Oh. The hook's come out, the hook's come out.
Ah! Another mahi-mahi. Awesome. I've been very ready for some fresh fish. This one put up a little bit more of a fight when it got into the cockpit though. It nearly leapt out of the cockpit and down the hatch before we managed to dispatch it. I think we need to improve our dispatching methods. But this should be very tasty.
Cooking that fish that we caught for dinner, but cooking on a boat is always, well, it takes twice as long and it's always about 4 times as messy as it is cooking otherwise. It seemed quite calm today, so I thought I'd make us a sauce, a parsley and garlic sauce from scratch to go with the fish. And I wedged the milk on the gimbaled stove, thinking that that would be okay, and of course it wasn't. And it went all over me, all over the floor, all over the stove. Yeah, as you can see, we're not really moving that much. I can kind of leave stuff on the side without too much trouble. But the problem is that you often get a big set of waves that come through and then just throw everything over.
Smells amazing.
As you can probably hear, the mainsail is slapping back and forth. That means we've got pretty much no wind now. It's all just disappeared after that rain squall. We had about half an hour of sailing in light breeze and now it's just completely disappeared. We've got 4 knots of wind, can't really sail very well in that. I've got clear sky above us, like I can see the stars, I can see some places where there aren't stars out to either side, which means clouds. But it doesn't look like there's any big clouds coming up behind us that are going to bring wind. So I might just have to drop this mainsail and stop it slapping back and forth because that's just wear and tear. And drift and wait for the wind to come back.
Thankfully, the next day, the breeze was back, and Florence was able to strut her stuff with some fantastic offshore ocean sailing. get to a point in the passage, especially when the conditions are like they have been, which is stable trade winds, where nothing really changes. Like, we're well into the routine of watchers, and there's not really much to differentiate between the days, and so they just kind of merge into one. It's been really nice, easy sailing. There's just not been a lot to show you. I've been really surprised at how little we've seen, to be honest. A lot of our passages are kind of filled with wildlife. There's lots of bird life at times, or lots of dolphins, and we saw one pod of what we think, whoa, we're still rolling quite a bit. We saw one pod of what we think were pilot whales, but they didn't come close enough to get them on camera or really even have a good look at them. And it's been a handful of birds, but that's it. We've seen 2 ships, both crossed us in the night, quite a long way off in the distance, but we're not on a major shipping route, so that's to be expected. And we haven't seen any other yachts.
I think this ocean passage has probably been our easiest ocean passage to date. It's supposed to be one of the easier ones, the South Atlantic. You don't have to worry about cyclones and hurricanes to avoid down here. There's less storms, so you generally get good conditions. And we've pretty much been day after day just sailing with head sails like this, with the boat's doing 7 knots right now, straight towards where we want to go. No squalls on the horizon, really nice sailing. So tomorrow we should see the island of Fernando de Noronha, which is Brazil, appear on the horizon in front of us, and we should arrive. Hopefully we can get some fresh fruits and vegetables, because we are down to 1 tomato and 1 lemon, and that is all we've got left in the way of fresh food, because there wasn't much to choose from in St Helena from provisioning point of view when we left. So the lemons actually come all the way from Namibia, and it doesn't look very good anymore, but I'm sure it'll be fine. Really looking forward to getting ashore after what will have been 12 days at sea and having a look around, but it's not really the end of this passage. Really, we're only halfway, because we're only making a short pit stop there. It's really expensive to stay in the anchorage, so I think it's £50 or £60 a day, something like that, but we need to find out when we get there. So we're planning to stay for 4 days and then sail on to French Guiana, so it really is just a pit stop halfway, and then sailing on to French Guiana is another 1,300 miles, so it's probably going to take us 11 days, something like that, or maybe more, because the next section is not going to be as easy as this. The next section we have to go through the doldrums, unstable light airs, thunderstorms, lightning, squalls. Yeah, it's going to be much more of a challenge, much like when we were doing the initial section out through the doldrums at the start of our Indian Ocean crossing.
Next time we sight land for the first time in 12 days and explore the stunning Brazilian island of Fernando de Noronha. Don't forget to subscribe to catch the next episode. We release a video every 2 weeks.
If you'd like to find out more about behind the scenes on Florence, track our progress across the oceans in real time, find out where we are right now, or ask us pretty much anything, then please head over to our Patreon site and join the crew. We would like to thank everyone who supports us to make these videos possible, and a special thank you to our star patrons.
Oh!